All right, get ready to dive deep because today it's all about decentralized energy.
Uh-huh.
And, we're seeing it pop up more and more, but it's really taking off in Africa and the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Some fascinating stuff you sent my way on this, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
What makes this such a big deal? Why should we care?
Well, it's exciting because it's a departure, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
moving away from the old model of, one size fits all for energy.
Yeah.
Decentralized energy is all about generating power closer to where it's actually used.
Right.
So think about, homes powered by their own solar panels, or even entire communities that are running off these things called mini grids.
Oh, wow.
It's a totally different way of looking at power compared to those like huge power plants and all those miles of transmission lines we see.
So it's like instead of like this one central power source that could be really vulnerable as something happens,
Exactly.
you're talking about creating these self-sufficient energy ecosystems.
Yeah.
Which, man, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
What kind of impact does that have on the ground? Like, especially when we're talking about places like Africa, where millions of people don't even have access to electricity.
Yeah, the statistics are pretty alarming. Like, almost 600 million people in Africa live without reliable access to electricity.
It's hard to even fathom that many people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why decentralized energy is so important,
Yeah.
because it offers a way to kind of like leapfrog those traditional infrastructure challenges, right?
Okay.
Expanding the grid like the traditional way can be so slow and costly, especially in remote areas.
Right.
But with decentralized systems, you can kind of like bypass those hurdles, those infrastructure hurdles, and you empower communities to generate their own power on their own terms.
Yeah.
And at a pace that those traditional methods just can't match.
That's incredible. It's like you're giving them the tools to like write their own energy future. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I like that thing.
Yeah. It's very empowering.
So, okay, we're talking about unique landscapes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful islands all spread out, across the ocean.
Right.
That must be, that's got to be a challenge for traditional energy grids, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Connecting all those islands with power lines, the way we're used to doing it would be incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And just logistically, so complex.
Yeah.
Decentralized energy offers a much more, I guess you could say a much more adaptable solution.
Oh.
So think about it like almost like you're tailoring an energy system to each island's specific needs, right?
Oh, like that.
Yeah. So solar and wind farms, right? You can kind of strategically place them to make the most of the natural resources in that specific location.
That's smart.
Yeah. And that creates, a much more localized and resilient approach.
Okay, so we've got these island nations, we've got these decentralized grids,
Yeah.
and then you've got this ever-present threat of hurricanes. I know the Caribbean is so vulnerable to those powerful storms.
Absolutely.
And, oftentimes centralized grids are just totally knocked out, right?
Yeah.
Which leaves entire islands in the dark.
Uh-huh.
How does this decentralized approach change things when a hurricane hits?
This is where we really see the resilience of decentralized systems shine, I think.
Okay.
Because they're smaller and they're more modular, they're just inherently more robust.
Okay.
So if one part of a centralized grid like goes down, the whole system can be affected, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But with the decentralized approach, the damage is usually very localized.
Oh.
Yeah, so repairs are much faster.
Wow.
Think about it, like solar panels with battery backup or microgrids that can operate completely independently even if other parts of the system are down.
Oh, wow.
That means power gets restored to critical services and communities so much faster after a disaster.
Yeah, so it's not just about having power, it's about having that reliable power,
Yes,
especially when it matters the most.
absolutely.
I could definitely see how this is so relevant for regions all over the globe, especially with extreme weather becoming more frequent.
Absolutely.
But I think we should probably talk about the economic side of this, too.
Yeah.
Your reports mentioned that decentralized energy could actually drive economic growth, especially in places where there aren't a lot of job opportunities.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. The economic implications are pretty significant, actually.
Okay.
So think about it. All the new jobs that are created when you start deploying these systems.
Mm-hmm.
You've got installation, maintenance, management, even manufacturing components locally.
Oh, yeah.
These are skilled positions that stay within the community and ultimately boost local economies.
Yeah.
Plus, when you reduce reliance on imported fossil fuels, that money stays in the region too.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's huge.
So it's like this like a ripple effect. You're
Exactly.
creating jobs, keeping money local, and then communities have more resources to, like, invest in themselves.
Right.
I can only imagine the huge impact that has on everything, from small businesses to schools and hospitals.
Oh yeah, having access to affordable and dependable energy it's a game changer, right?
Yeah.
It allows people to start businesses, they can, study after dark, it powers healthcare facilities. It really is a fundamental building block
For sure.
for progress, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about, the environmental benefits.
Yeah.
Decentralized energy often relies on renewable sources like, your solar and wind,
Of course.
which are perfect for these regions, right?
Yeah.
Africa, the Caribbean, abundant sunshine, abundant wind.
They got it all.
It's a match made in heaven, right?
I mean, this is sounding pretty incredible, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Energy independence, economic growth, we're talking environmental sustainability. It seems like decentralized energy just checks all the boxes.
Yeah. A lot of potential there.
But are there any potential downsides
Yeah.
or like challenges that we should be thinking about?
That's a great question, and it's one we should definitely spend some time on because while the potential is huge, it's not without its complexities, right? There
Sure.
are some nuances and challenges that I think we need to, really unpack if we want to get the full picture.
All right, well, I am intrigued.
Yes.
You've definitely got my wheels turning here. So let's delve into those complexities and those challenges when we come back for part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we're back and ready to really dig into some of the complexities you mentioned about decentralized energy.
Yeah.
You know, it's been sounding pretty amazing so far, but I have to imagine there are some hurdles to overcome,
Oh, for sure.
especially when you're talking about, bringing these systems to regions that are already facing energy challenges, right?
Right.
So what are some of the sticking points? What are some of those things that might trip us up?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest hurdles, I'd say, is the upfront cost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
While decentralized systems can definitely save money in the long run, that initial investment, especially for things like solar panels, battery storage,
Yeah,
that can be a major barrier, particularly for communities that might have limited resources to begin with.
that makes sense. It's kind of like that old saying, it takes money to make money.
Right, exactly.
But how do we bridge that gap? Like, are there
Mm.
are there innovative financing models or support systems popping up to help with this?
Definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of really creative thinking happening in this space.
Okay, good.
We're seeing things like, microloans that are specifically designed for renewable energy projects.
Okay.
There are these pay-as-you-go systems that make, clean energy a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
And even community-based crowdfunding, that's becoming more popular.
Oh, wow.
And we're also seeing increasing interest from like impact investors
Yeah.
who are really seeing the potential for both, social and financial returns in decentralized energy.
Oh, I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really exciting area, a lot of momentum.
Yeah, it sounds like a really like a growing ecosystem of support for these communities as they make these transitions to more sustainable solutions.
Uh-huh.
But what about the more technical side of things?
Yeah.
Are there concerns about, how do you maintain these systems? How do you
Sure.
make sure that they're reliable
Right.
and making sure there's a workforce that has the skills to keep them running smoothly?
Yeah, I mean, reliability is definitely, it's key.
Yeah.
And while decentralized systems can be remarkably resilient, they do require proper maintenance upkeep.
Of course.
So that means building local capacity for installation, repair, ongoing management, right?
Right.
Training programs,
Okay.
knowledge transfer. These are essential,
For sure.
not just for the technical skills, but also, for developing that entrepreneurial spirit within the community.
Oh, yeah.
So they can really take ownership of this.
Yeah, I like that. It's about more than just like dropping in some new technology, right?
Exactly.
It's about really equipping people with the knowledge and skills to like own and manage these systems.
It's an investment.
Yeah, exactly. For the long haul.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. But, I think we got to talk about something that I feel like often gets overlooked in these conversations.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Policy and regulations.
Yeah.
How do governments fit into this decentralized energy landscape?
Oh, government support it's absolutely critical.
Okay.
Smart policies and regulations, they can create a really favorable environment for decentralized energy to thrive, right?
Okay.
So this could include streamlining permitting processes, make it easier to actually get these projects going,
Yeah.
offering tax incentives or subsidies,
Yeah.
right, to encourage these renewable energy projects,
Yeah.
or even establishing these things called feed-in tariffs, which allow individuals or communities to sell the excess energy that they generate
Oh, wow.
back to the grid.
So it's like kind of leveling the playing field,
Yeah,
making sure that decentralized energy isn't at a disadvantage compared to those big, traditional utility companies.
exactly.
But I have to imagine that there might be some pushback from those existing power structures.
Oh, of course.
They might see this whole decentralized movement as a threat, right?
Absolutely. There can definitely be tension there.
Yeah.
And navigating those political and economic dynamics, that's essential for a smooth energy transition, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that decentralized energy, it doesn't have to completely replace the existing grid.
Okay.
It can complement it, enhance it, and actually create a more robust and resilient system overall.
Okay, so it's not an all or nothing thing.
No, not at all.
It's about finding the right balance
Right.
and integrating these systems in a way that benefits everyone.
Right. Finding those win-win scenarios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into the technical and the policy stuff, I kind of want to step back and look at the bigger picture here.
Okay. Yeah.
We've talked about energy independence, economic benefits, environmental sustainability, but what about the social and cultural impacts?
Yeah.
How might this shift in energy actually change the fabric of life
Yeah.
in these regions?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting because access to energy, it's such a fundamental driver of human development, right?
Yeah.
So when communities have that reliable power, it opens up so many possibilities for education, healthcare, communicate, even entertainment.
Yeah.
Imagine students being able to study at night,
Right.
doctors having reliable power for medical equipment,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs connecting with customers around the world.
It's like you're suddenly expanding the horizons, right?
Exactly.
Of what's possible for individuals and for whole communities.
Oh.
And that can have huge implications for cultural expression, creativity, even, political participation.
It's really powerful.
Yeah, it's about so much more than just like having the lights on.
Yes.
It's about like empowering people to shape their own futures.
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
And that's what makes this whole conversation so much bigger than just kilowatts and megawatts.
exactly.
This is about human potential.
It really is. Yeah.
I love that this is giving me like a whole new perspective on energy
Good.
and its impact on society, on people.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground already.
Well, yeah.
From the nuts and bolts of these decentralized systems to the economic and social implications.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've only just, scratched the surface here.
We've just dipped our toes in.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this is the perfect time to move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we're going to look beyond just the present and really envision what the future holds for decentralized energy in Africa and the Caribbean. So what trends should we be watching?
Right.
What innovations are on the horizon? And what does this all mean for the global energy landscape?
Buckle up, everyone. We're going to the future.
Let's go.
Welcome back. So we're about to wrap up this deep dive into decentralized energy in Africa and the Caribbean. But before we do that,
Yeah.
we've talked about the present and all the amazing things happening right now.
Uh-huh.
But I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on what the future holds, like what's next for this whole movement. What trends should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, I think one of the most fascinating things is how decentralized energy is converging with all these other cutting-edge technologies,
Okay.
Like think about artificial intelligence, right?
Uh-huh.
Optimizing how power is distributed across these systems,
Right.
blockchain facilitating peer-to-peer energy trading within communities.
Okay.
And the Internet of Things, connecting and managing all these distributed energy sources in a much, much smarter and efficient way.
Fulin, are you saying, so like my solar panels could be like talking to my neighbor's wind turbine and they could be like automatically buying and selling energy from each other based on like real-time needs.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
It's really cool.
That's amazing.
But it's closer than you... I mean, it's really about creating this incredibly dynamic and responsive energy ecosystem.
Yeah.
One that's far more resilient to disruptions.
Okay.
And this is where the potential for innovation in Africa and the Caribbean is just, it's so exciting.
Okay.
Because we've already seen these regions like leapfrogging these traditional technologies, right?
Yeah.
In areas like mobile banking, digital payments,
Hmm.
they're becoming like global leaders in tech adoption. And the same thing could absolutely happen with decentralized energy.
So they're not just catching up. They're going to be the pioneers in this new energy landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the potential to really lead the way here. That's really inspiring.
Yeah.
But okay, let's zoom out for a second
Okay.
and think about the global implications here.
Yeah.
If this decentralized energy movement really takes off in these regions, could it actually change how we think about power, like on a global scale?
Absolutely. I mean, it has the potential to really disrupt the status quo,
Okay.
the traditional model of, centralized power generation that's been around for over a century.
Right.
But as the world is dealing with, climate change and energy security and the need for more equitable access to power, decentralized energy offers a really compelling alternative. And as these technologies get better, as they mature and become more affordable, I think we could be on the verge of a fundamental shift
Okay.
in how energy is produced and consumed all over the world.
So this isn't just about Africa and the Caribbean. This can be like the blueprint for a more sustainable and equitable energy future for everyone.
Yeah, that's the hope.
It's been so great exploring this topic with you. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I know our listeners must be buzzing with all these new insights.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway that you really hope they walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that energy is no longer just a utility, it's an enabler.
Uh-huh.
Decentralized energy has the power to transform lives, to empower communities, and to really reshape economies.
Yeah,
It's about so much more than just keeping the lights on. It's about lighting the path to a brighter and more sustainable future.
beautifully said. And on that inspiring note, we come to the end of our deep dive.
It was fun.
It was great. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And to you, dear listener, I encourage you to keep exploring this topic. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
How might decentralized energy impact your world? Could you be a part of this energy revolution?
It's a good question.
These are questions worth thinking about. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.